welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate your patience here this morning, and we thank you for being on the broadcast inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open for you Monday through Saturday for sales and service. You can find out more information by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com, including finding out their vast array of vehicles, the Honda Pilot, the HR-V, the CR-V, the Accord, the Civic, the Ridgeline, and more are all available to you at GreatLakesHondaCity.com while supplies last, on location, as many people up here in central and upstate New York call Great Lakes Honda City home. So make sure that you get out to their wonderful location on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, and pick out your next ride today. With that being said, we have Papa Joe here on the broadcast with us, hanging out with us for Sports Meets Life in hour number one. It is Major League Baseball opening day, and they always do it on a Thursday, so Papa Joe and I have been able to bring you opening day together for many years, and this year is no different. It's why I'm wearing my Diamondback shirt this morning, my snake biting that baseball, and a Tortora 21 on the back. So happy Major League Baseball opening day, folks. It is a sunny and beautiful day here in central and upstate New York. I hope you're experiencing the same. And if you're not, I hope that those skies part and those blue ones come your way very soon. Papa Joe with us in hour number one inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. And in hour number two, we're going to head back to the tournament. We're going to have a conversation here with Gabby Holko, longtime collegiate basketball coach. She's going to talk with me about the women's tournament and the men's tournament as we are in the Sweet 16 and moving forward to see who will still be fighting for a national championship. So, with that being said, inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I got the man of the hour here with me. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Morning, Daniel. I take a few minutes to apologize to your listening audience. It was all my fault this morning, so folks, don't be so hard on him.
Yeah, I appreciate it, PJ. No worries whatsoever. So it's Major League Baseball opening day, and I'm ecstatic about this. We wait a long time for it, and now it's here. Now we're going to have baseball from here until November. So as we are here in March, the end of March, with opening day of Major League Baseball, we will now be with baseball for the rest of this year, all the way up until November. The only time we won't have it is December. So just what you could say about opening day, what it means to you, and knowing that we got baseball for pretty much the rest of the calendar year.
It's my time of the year. But I do want to inflect something into this morning's conversation is the tournaments, the basketball tournaments. Of course, I got to say my Gators are right in there for the men's.
Yeah.
And I've been following UConn women forever, so both of those teams will vie for their respective championships. My Gators are tough. They've come through a very difficult SEC conference and then the tournament, and they're for real, folks. As a matter of fact, the more you read about the pundits, I try not to read other pundits, but it's so overwhelming now that everyone has an opinion, and it looks like, although you can't ever tell, it's Florida and Duke in the finals, but there's a lot of ball to be played, that's for sure. And then on the women's side, UConn looks overwhelming. They got some tough road ahead of them, though. I look for the UConn ladies to take it all, though. So with that, we can go into bed unless you want to comment on my Gators.
Yeah, I'm happy to see the Florida Gators back in it. I'm happy to see them vying for a title. It's been a minute for the Florida Gators. It's been a minute for the SEC, but certain teams have gotten better. Arkansas, obviously, with the addition of John Calipari. We've seen Alabama do some good things as well in recent history. But we know in the past LSU had, good teams, and of course Florida had good teams. And so to see these teams try to find their way back to the top and a team like Florida to still be in it is huge. I think Duke is going to have a lot to say about the national championship game, and I think Duke's going to obviously be putting that work in, and Cooper Flagg and company, there's a tremendous squad when it comes to Duke, and so I think that's a really good team. And there's the blue bloods are in this tournament. That's the reality. On the men's side, it's been a lot of blue bloods. Not a lot of upsets, not a lot of lower seeds, not a single 13, 14, 15, or 16 seed won this season. There was only two 12s that won. So the majority of the seeding went to the higher, or the majority of the wins, I should say, went to the higher seed. And so that is something to look at, and it's something to realize is that we're in a position right now where, college basketball on the men's side looks very much like, picking chalk, so to speak. And on the women's side, more often than not, that's what it is. Usually the higher seed does win. So for the women's side of things, it's not crazy to see the number one seeds and the number two seeds move forward. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen on both sides. I'm very much looking forward to it. And, I think that, this time of the year is so important to me because I just absolutely love the tournaments and I love sitting here and watching basketball. I love covering them. I've had the opportunity to speak with multiple teams this season, as I've done for the last few years. So we've had opportunities to speak with Gonzaga, with Houston. I had opportunities to speak with Drake, with Iowa State. So I just want to thank the NCAA for those opportunities, and I definitely look forward to what's going to come from this. So, it's great, Papa Joe. It's a great time of year. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I feel like Duke's got a really good chance of winning this thing, and it's going to be interesting to see if and when anybody can knock off some of these teams here. I have UConn and South Carolina in the championship. On the women's side, that's what I chose. I think South Carolina and Dawn Staley, it's hard to root against them, and it's hard to root against Gino Auriemma and UConn. So it's going to be great. And I think no matter what happens as we step forward here, it's going to be an awesome, awesome opportunity to just see some really good basketball being played. And I hope that people are ready for that. I hope they're excited for that. I hope they're looking forward to that. And with that being said, speaking of being excited and looking forward to something, I will unleash you on Major League Baseball as once again, you and I get to talk about opening day on opening day, not the day before, not the day after, but we get to do it specifically on opening day, which I always think is awesome. So I'm going to let you take it away, PJ, and give us your thoughts on opening day.
This is exciting time for me, for sure. We've gone through a couple of months of 6 weeks of preseason stuff, the Cactus League, the Grapefruit League, every other league. You've seen some good young players come through the systems. You've seen some old timers get released. So it's who's doing the best. What team is the strongest? Who's got the best pitching? Who's got the best defense? So there's a lot of problems already. Starting, some of the major players are hurt, unfortunately. We can jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Brewers and the Yankees started today at 3:00. The Brewers, my Brewers. Well, all I can say is that since they lost Craig Counsell, I know they did good last year. They were better than the Cubs, where Counsell is now, but they're a shell of the team that I remember. And why is because Willie Adames, one of the best shortstops in the league, signed a huge contract with the Giants, San Francisco Giants, and Devin Williams, a hard-nosed closer that took over for Josh Hader, he goes to the, let me see, Devin Williams goes to the Yankees. That's right. Look at this. How about that? Now we got the flip side of it. We got the Yankees. We got the best pitcher in baseball, Garrett Cole, who is elbow out. Going to have Tommy John surgery. Not going to be ready for next year. It'll be the middle of summer next year before he can throw. And then Lewis Gill, last year's Rookie of the Year, he's out for 3 months. So you can't have enough pitching, folks. There's 25 players on a team. Usually 13 of them are pitchers. That's what happens like this. You got a starting lineup of 8 guys. You got the rest of the guys can be put in different pinch hitting or running situations or defensive situations. So it's a tough time for the Yankees. It's very, very unfortunate. But I still think they're a force to be reckoned with. Giancarlo Stanton used to be the old Mike Stanton. I don't know where Giancarlo came from. But Mike's hurt also. He's hurt every year and has been for the last 5 years. Don't know why he commands so much money. Can't stay in the lineup, doesn't play defense, doesn't play the outfield, doesn't do anything but hit, and then he gets hurt. So I'm not a Stanton fan. DJ LeMahieu has been one of my favorite players because he's so valued, play any position other than catcher and pitcher, and he's still hurt. So these guys are in their mid-30s, and you can't carry on like this. You gotta let them go. You gotta release people, and you gotta use your farm system to come up with some stuff. So, with that being said, I don't know if this first game is going to be any fun to watch. I know that their big slugger, Aaron Judge, they're going to pitch around Aaron Judge because the Yankees don't have protection around them. The Yankees still have a lot of good ball players. Don't get me wrong, folks. And this should be good. But I don't know about the weather in New York right now. And the Milwaukee, of course, plays in a dome, so they don't care right now. And so whatever the weather says is what's going to happen. I know that the left fielder Jason Dominguez is a favorite to win the American League Rookie of the Year, and he hasn't even played yet for the Yankees. Supposed to be a real killer. We'll see what happens. Joey Ortiz is now playing shortstop for the Brewers with the departure of Bananas. So you got some new blood to look forward to watching. We got some old blood that just can't seem to get to the plate or the pitching mound. So forget about it.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, a bunch of these injuries, a bunch of them to the Yankees, and starting the season off without Garrett Cole, knowing Giancarlo Stanton is going through an injury as well. It's difficult, and it's unfortunate, absolutely, for the start of Major League Baseball, for Yankee fans, for fans around the country to have guys be out. I mean, this is going to be an interesting season. We talked about the fact that Mike Trout has moved away from center field to right field, so we'll see what that looks like for him and the Angels. And, we'll obviously see which Yankees are going to step up and which Yankees are going to figure it out. They didn't have Garrett Cole for part of last season, and they had an extremely hot start. They're not going to have him for all of this season, so the question becomes, did they do enough work in the offseason to help out their pitching? My Diamondbacks have the opportunity to show what they could do. Corbin Burns is now their ace, so Zach Gallen, who's been their ace, now he is number 2, so essentially they have 2 aces, Merrill Kelly, and so on and so forth. So they got a better rotation now than maybe they've ever had in Arizona since they won the World Series of 2001 with Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. And then we have the Mets, right, who spent a ton of money, who kept Pete Alonso, who got Juan Soto. So, PJ, right now in this moment, if you were to pick National League, American League, and who was going to make it to the World Series this year, the really, really early prediction, who do you like out of the American and who do you like out of the National?
Oh, that's a tough question, Daniel. That's a tough question. It's really, you're really guessing right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, well, first of all, let's get this one out of the way. The Dodgers in the National League. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. They could have 3 guys in the outfield or 3 guys in the infield and still win. So I'm going to say that. And I'm going to go with one of my favorites last year because I think that they're young and they're tough. And they got good pitching. That's Kansas City Royals. Kansas City, led by Bobby Witt, and good pitching is going to go a long way with the Royals. Also, one of the teams I think that you need to think about is the Baltimore Orioles. They gave the Yankees all they could last year. Gave them fits every time. And the reason I say it is because Baltimore had 6 players that almost around 300 and hit over 25 home runs. And these kids are tough. They're going to be tough to beat this year if the Yankees don't get off to a good start, and if they can't beat them in a home series, then it's going to be a long year for the Yankees. I like the Baltimore's playing Toronto today at 3:00. Another game that starts. Got Zach Eflin is going against Jose Barrios. Zach Eflin, tough for the Baltimore. Baltimore. We're saying that about their lineup. They had 2 guys that were really part of it. They're not going to start the season. Gunnar Henderson is still on an injury reserve list, and I hope he gets in there soon. You got Adley Rutschman, who didn't have a good year last year, did the year before. Super ball player. Both of these guys are struggling to maintain their health, and they're young guys. So it just goes to prove that you just can't have enough players, especially in the minor league. And also, I got to chew these guys out too. So this is my rant. Why don't you take care of yourself in the off season? My goodness, spring training is fun. They don't do a lot of work. They run, big deal. They stretch, big deal. They catch fly balls. They catch grounders. They don't do anything. The only thing they can do really hard is run. And they still are not in the best shape that they can be. I don't get it. So if I was, managing one of those teams or general manager of that, I would say, listen, pal, this is your off-season program. And they may even have this. I'm not sure. This is your off-season program. If you want to stay with us, the Yankees or Baltimore or Arizona, you've got to follow this regimen, and we're going to check you. You're not on the payroll, sure, but you are on the payroll because I'm watching you. That's what I would like to say. I want to be sure that they do the right thing. Now, Baltimore's playing Toronto, and Toronto has a few problems right now. And, of course, they stole Anthony Santander away from Baltimore. He's going to be a killer for them. And someone in the lineup to protect them against Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero. Now, Guerrero is a big a lot to talk about this year because he's in a contract problem. He hasn't made a deal yet with Toronto. And with Guerrero, because he and Bichette are the babies from their fathers who played ball for years, Guerrero is going to be owed. You got to remember this, folks. We're in high dollar territory here. This is Mike Trout territory. Guerrero is going to be probably worth $600 to $700 million. Think about that. $600 to $700 million at least. That's going to be his contract going forward. But he's a good guy. He's a good kid. He works. He doesn't bitch a lot about it. He says it'll take its time to get there, but I don't know if they're going to negotiate during the year. I wouldn't do that if I was them. So you got a couple teams that are very good, and the pitching probably is better for Baltimore, not Toronto. Now, other than Guerrero and Bo Bichette, now we got Santander. I think Toronto is going to be not going to score as many runs as it did last year. They were just killing it for quite a long time. They just didn't do well at the end of the year. So, you got to look for them. Toronto, the pitching's got to hold up. And certainly Baltimore's pitching will be there with Zach Alpin and his crew. And they're relievers. So that's a good matchup. Now, the next game is at 4 o'clock, which is Boston Red Sox at the Rangers. Now, these two guys are good, period. They are good. That's all you can say about them. The Red Sox have got a slew of players. Jack Leader and Kumar Rocker, who were college teammates at Vanderbilt in 21, both made the opening day roster for the Rangers and will anchor the back end of the rotation. They're going to be either long relievers or short relievers. I'm not sure either one of them. Rocker probably may start a few games. The big thing about the Rangers is they lost Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman had great success at Fenway Park, batting .375 and 7 home runs, 15 RBIs in 21 career games. So, I beg your pardon, Bregman was with the Astros. But anyway, Bregman hits well against Boston. But the game's being played in Texas, so I guess the weather's going to be kind of cool about that. I don't know. I think the pitching matchup is Garrett Crochet versus Nate Eovaldi. Eovaldi's been around for a long time, been with a couple clubs. He's a solid starter. He will pitch well for Texas. Garrett Crochet came from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. He finally got out of there, mess over there. If you remember right, last year, he was one of the guys I whooped about all year long about being in a trade for because he's so valuable. And him flying his trade for the Chicago White Sox wasn't getting him anywhere. So he comes to Boston, he gets a big contract. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and Alex Bregman, he's got an opportunity to do some special things. We know that he had a 2-run home run and 3 runs total in the matchup that they had in their first time ever in a Red Sox uniform when he was out there for spring training here not too long ago, a few weeks back. So looking forward to the season, looking forward to what's to come. It is Major League Baseball opening day here for 2025. Papa Joe and I bring you through it. We bring you baseball all year long, in season, out of season, because there really is no off season when it comes to baseball. And of course, we're always with you on opening day. We appreciate you being here. We'll take a step aside from the Great Lakes Honda City studios. When we come back, PJ and I will continue the conversation in the baseball world right after this wonderful message from our beautiful partners in Central and Upstate New York. Stay with us. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York, to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean-to-cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection. Even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees, there's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in the wonderful Liverpool, New York, and you will find all of their wonderful cars on the lot by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. You can get a little sneak peek, and of course you can go over to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And for sales and service, they are open Monday through Saturday, so make sure that you give them a phone call. All of their information at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. With that being said, Papa Joe and I are here to speak with you on opening day of the 2025 season for Major League Baseball. And I am excited, I'm ecstatic, I'm very much looking forward to it. And as we are getting set to have the games really be here with us in just a little while, which I cannot wait for, it's time for Papa Joe and I to continue the conversation here. And I know PJ's got some thoughts, and I got some thoughts, so I'm going to hand it right over to PJ here as we continue to have our conversation. Now, I do want to let this be known. We had a poll that went out. I said, which New York team is going to have a better season, the Mets or the Yankees? 86% of you picked the Mets, 14% picked the Yankees. And then I said, if you had to choose only one sport that you would watch for the rest of your life, which would it be? The overwhelming one, 50% of you chose football. So for those of you wondering if football is still America's major sport here, and if it's overtaken baseball, at least in that poll, we have football on that side of things. So PJ, I will hand it off to you. I know you want to talk about the Dodgers and some other pieces here, so take it away when ready here in Major League Baseball opening day 2025.
All right, thanks, Daniel. Game at 4 o'clock, got the Phillies and Washington Nationals. Give Jerry a shout out down there at Marywood. Don't talk about your Phillies, bud.
Yeah.
They're a very good team. They got a pitching matchup today. Zach Wheeler versus Mackenzie Gore. Now, Zach Wheeler is one of 3 pitchers that the Phillies use as dominants, and the Phillies are built for success now and in the future. They got Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. How can you not love the guys? Schwarber was used for leadoff hitting for the last couple of years. I think it was led or was second, had the most home runs in that amount of time. But he's a slow guy, but it doesn't make any difference. He's scary up there when he's a leadoff hitter. But I think what they're going to do, they're going to move him around up and down the order. No lower than 4th because he's a RBI threat. I think Trey Turner will probably take over leading off. And the Nationals are fair to Midland. I don't know much to say about them, but what they have 3 outstanding rookies that are going to start the season with the Nationals. They all happen to be in the outfield. James Woods, Dillard Cruz, and another young man that I can't think of his name, Jacob Young. All of these guys are high draft choices, and looks like they're going to make their team. Let's hope that they have enough guts to stay around. That it's a difficult game for rookies. Now, this guy Woods especially, He's another Aaron Judge. He's something like 6'7" and 240 pounds, veritable beast. I'm not sure how quick he's going to be in the outfield, but I guarantee you nothing's going to get over his head if he wants to jump it. So good for them. Go for the Phillies.
Yeah, and the Phillies, when we talk about talent, we look at a team that's supposed to be stacked up every year to have the opportunity to do something special. I mean, the Phillies are one of those teams. They're one of those teams that's never truly out of it. They're one of those teams that you feel like is a perennial postseason contender. And so, I mean, as the Mets are working to get better, as the Mets have spent more money and the Mets are putting themselves in a position on paper to do things, the Phillies are the ones that typically get it done. PJ, I know we're going to talk about the Dodgers and what they have, but looking historically, right, looking over a span of time, a long span of time, I'm talking like, let's go back to 2009 or 2000, let me think here. Yeah, 2009, 2008, around that time period. So we'll say almost the last 20 years. Has there been a team that's been more consistent to you than the Phillies in the last 20 years?
Not really, because the Phillies have three outstanding pitchers, Zach Wheeler being one of them. They're just, those three starters have manipulated the rest of the league. They just haven't scored enough runs, and they have to have a decent reliever. I'm not sure who that's going to be, but the Phillies and their pitching rotation, plus the three guys that I just mentioned, that you just cannot ignore these guys. Schwarber, Trey Turner, and Bryce Harper. Of course, Harper is a two-time MVP in the league. Those guys can carry a team 2 or 3 days in a row, but everyone has to contribute. But the Phillies, for the last 5 years, have really been loaded both with pitching and hitting.
Yeah, and that watching them play and seeing them when I was working at ESPN Radio in Scranton, Pennsylvania back in 2008, all the way to now, I mean, that's why I brought it up, because they were contenders back then. They were doing great things back then. They were making a name for themselves back then. And then you fast forward to now, and you just see the level of play that they have, and the pitching that they have, and the hitting that they have, and how they're an all-around strong team, and they're a well-put-together team. There's not a lot of holes in Philadelphia. So let's go to the Dodgers, because you and I were talking about this off the air. If the Phillies don't have a lot of cracks, a lot of open pieces in their armor, so to speak, if you can't get a knife through the armor of the Phillies, then what about the armor of the Dodgers?
Well, we're talking about a generational team here. I don't know what to say about them, but the Tigers are coming in town. The pitching matchup is Terry Skubal, who was an American League Cy Young Award winner last year, going up against Blake Snell, who is a former Cy Young Award winner. So you're looking at two extremely tough pitchers to hit. Now, whether the Dodgers are going to be put in position to score a lot of runs, that remains to be seen. Mookie Betts has got something wrong with him. Something wrong with his stomach. He's not playing. He's not practicing. He's losing weight. I'm really concerned about that, because he really is makes the Dodgers go. Of course, with Ohtani. Freddie Freeman, these guys are built to win now and in the future. They're so good. Their pitching is, I can't even pronounce the kids they got pitching now besides Ohtani. They got Yamamoto and some other Japanese player. Three guys that are going to kill it. I mean, how do you guard against these guys? How do you try to get them out? How do you play the Dodgers to not score any runs? And when they do, when they get base on balls or they got an error, they steal bases. They're just so good. Except Freddie Freeman doesn't run too much anymore. The Dodgers, I want to watch that tonight. My son's coming over, jumping Joey, meatball number one. He's coming over tonight, so when he gets through working, we're going to watch that game at 7 o'clock. And I don't know what else to say except that Derek Skubal better have his best stuff. Now, Detroit, I don't know what to say about Detroit. They don't have a lot. They certainly have the best pitcher in the American League right now, that Garrett Cole is out. But Skubal is tough. I mean, he was really something like 18-4 with a 2.13 ERA. Those numbers may be wrong, but anyway, he was dominant last year. So if Skubal's got to have his best stuff to try to offset these guys. Now, Blake Snell, on the other hand, is nasty too. He was with Tampa for years, and then went somewhere else before he went to the Dodgers. He's a left-hander arm for hire. I mean, he's whoever pays the most is going to get him. And guess who pays the most? Of course, the Dodgers. So you got Terry Screwball versus Blake Snell. Could be a pitcher's matchup. It could be, but don't count on it because both of these teams, especially Los Angeles and coach, Dave Roberts, they just don't allow their pitchers to go more than 5 innings. So if Blake Snell is giving up a hit in 5 innings and they pull him out, you know why. That's Dave Roberts.
Yeah. Yeah, so as we get set for this opening day, very excited. We have, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, Milwaukee at the New York Yankees. Then we have Baltimore at Toronto, Philadelphia at Washington, Boston at Texas, Pittsburgh at Miami, San Francisco at Cincinnati, the Los Angeles Angels at the Chicago White Sox, Cleveland at Kansas City, the New York Mets at Houston, Atlanta at San Diego, Minnesota at St. Louis, Detroit at LA for the Dodgers, also on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, Chicago at Arizona, and Oakland Athletics at Seattle will be our 2 late games. Those games are going to start at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time. PJ, I don't know if you know this, but when you look up the schedule, they all have their city names, but the Oakland Athletics do not have a city name. It's just known as Athletics. So Arizona Diamondbacks is written as Arizona, Chicago Cubs is written as Chicago, Seattle Mariners is written as Seattle, the Oakland Athletics is written as Athletics because we don't know where the hell they're going to play baseball, PJ. Now, then, tomorrow, 3 years from now, they're supposed to be going to Vegas, but right now the Oakland Athletics, if you look up their schedule, they don't even have a home city name right now. Crazy.
Like you got to include Tampa in there too because Tampa's not going to know where they're playing anyway. They're going to be playing at the Yankees AAA ball club ballpark in Tampa St. Pete area, and Tampa. Are they going to fix their roof? Don't know. Are they going to knock it down and build a new one? Don't know. They just don't have a clue what's going on. The reason is because the St. Pete Tampa people, the government, don't want to give them $1.5 billion to build a stadium. They got to knock it down, then they got to build one. I'm not sure they're going to do that. One game, though, I think we can talk about because you like him, is the Mets at Houston.
Yeah,
going to be a tough game. Now, this matchup is unusual, and I'll tell you why. The matchup is the Mets have Clay Holmes going against Framber Valdez. Now, Valdez has been a killer for Houston for a couple of years. He's tough. He pitches a lot of innings, a lot of strikeouts. Clay Holmes, on the other hand, this is strange because Clay Holmes for the last couple of years has been the closer for the New York Yankees. Yeah. Now you ask, EJ, how does the closer for the Yankees wind up being a starter for the New York Mets? Folks, I can't answer that question because he was awful good for the Yankees as a closer. Now he comes cross-country, cross town to the Mets. The Mets, Clay, we're going to give you a lot of money. However, we want you to start. Yeah. So how do you figure that? And you don't actually. The Houston's offense is always led by Kyle Tucker and Jose Altuve. With Bregman not being there, there's going to be a big hole in there. Big hole. The Mets, of course, we know you got Juan Soto. So the Mets got Pete Alonso. The Mets have a good lineup, not a great lineup. Don't know what their pitching is going to be either. I think they're really a wild card here. I don't know what they're going to do going forward, but they need to step it up. They need to step it up. It's a very tough division they're going to be in. Houston, of course, I called them last year early to make up the ground in their division to win it and get into the playoffs. So Houston is still going to be tough with good pitching and good hitting, and the Mets can't always rely on Alonso and Soto. Someone else has to help carry the ball too.
Yeah, and the thing for the Mets, and I have his rookie card, so let's make sure he keeps playing well. Tyler McGill, he's going to be pitching on Friday of this week, March 28th. He'll be out there pitching for the Mets against Houston on the road. So Tyler McGill, I'm watching you. Got some teams on Apple TV Plus this Friday. Baltimore at Toronto at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time. And Apple TV Plus also has the New York Mets at the Houston Astros at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. There's only two teams that are not playing on opening day, PJ. Colorado Rockies and the Tampa Bay Rays. Thoughts on that? The fact that we have an almost full slate of baseball on opening day today, March 27th of 2025, here on this Thursday. We have 28 teams playing of the 30 Major League Baseball franchises. Thoughts on the fact that we're not going to see Colorado or Tampa until tomorrow at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time?
Well, I could be a smart ass and say, who cares? But because I follow Tampa Bay, Colorado, I don't. Colorado's going to be as pitiful as the White Sox. Actually, the White Sox are playing. But I thought maybe we could talk real quick here about your Cubs and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks made the best move, period, in the offseason to have Stove leave. I don't care. 3 months, everyone's wheeling, dealing, doing this and doing that. Arizona stood up and signed the best pitcher currently in baseball, and that's Corbin Burns. Used to be with Milwaukee, goes to Baltimore on a one-year deal for millions of dollars. Now he comes to Arizona. Why? Because as he's from there, his family likes to live there, so they give him several $100 million to go pitch for Arizona. I think it's a brilliant move, and I think that they're an excellent team. They got Corbin Carroll and Kellen Martin. Arizona has to play flawless baseball this year, Daniel, to stay in the hunt, and because they're in a very, very difficult league. It's very difficult. Now the Cubs don't have anything. I mean, I don't look for them to do anything. I'm just looking forward to watching Arizona play. Gallen's going to go for them tonight against Justin Steele. I don't know much about Justin Steele, but I know a lot about Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
Gallen was the leading pitcher for Arizona. I do have some news, though, about Jordan Montgomery. You heard me fuss last year about this guy. His agent, who was Drew Overhouse, the best agent in sports, probably. They get to sign him on $25 million a year for 3 years, $75 million. He can't get anyone out. He's got an ERA over 6. So what happens to him? He blows his elbow out. He's got to have Tommy John surgery. Now, if that's not egg in your face, the guy was a major disappointment last year. Does nothing for himself over the winter. Comes into camp, starts throwing the ball, blows his elbow out, and what happens? He's out.
Yeah.
Probably not pitch again. If he does, it's going to be in the middle of next summer. So whoever's running Zona is probably kicking themselves, because now they're going to. I don't know if they got any insurance on this guy or not, but they certainly need it.
Yeah, the Arizona Diamondbacks, by the way, after last season, they fired all 3 of their pitching coaches. So, the Arizona Diamondbacks trying to find what they can do. I mean, 2 years ago in 2023, I was there for the World Series with my dad, and Arizona had a shot. They had an opportunity. They had a chance. They just ran into a team that was better than them in the Texas Rangers at the time. And last year, they didn't make the postseason, and neither did the Texas Rangers. So the two teams that fought for a World Series championship in 2023 did not make it in 2024. I know the Rangers are going to have their hands tied with everything going on with Seattle and Houston, and that's going to be a race. Last year, every single one of those teams had it at some point. PJ predicted very early that Houston would have it at the end of the season. He was 100% right. And so, Texas, let's see what they do. On the side of the Arizona Diamondbacks, bringing in the pitching that they have with the pitchers that they already have, and if we can get guys healthy and you can see the talent of this team continue to grow and blossom, Corbin Carroll can bounce back, and they can deal with the loss of Christian Walker, as well as not having Bell around, who they had for just a little bit, a couple months last year on the team. Josh Bell, who's no longer with the team, kind of had him for a rental. If they can do what they need to do here with the moves that they've made, the Arizona Diamondbacks have made transactions in the past couple of years to stay relevant, to stay in it, to not make the World Series be a fluke, to not let that moment in time simply just be a moment in time, but to have another opportunity, another crack at it. I thought they would get back to the playoffs last year. They did not. And so this year, you would like to hope and think that with keeping most of this team together and keeping the nucleus of this team together and keeping your pitchers together and adding another pitcher in Corbin Burns, that the Diamondbacks will find themselves back in the postseason as they continue to push toward getting over the hump of the World Series. You know, there's teams that make it and then they disappear, or there's teams that make it to the postseason but they never get as far as the World Series. The Diamondbacks are trying to keep themselves relevant, keep themselves in the conversation, and keep themselves in the hunt. If they stay healthy, if their bats wake up, and this pitching rotation is as good as it looks on paper, then I would like to hope and think, PJ, that we'll be in a good place.
I agree. Of course, I think before you have to go, there's one other game I think we ought to talk about, and it's probably a game that no one gives a damn about, and that's the Angels at the White Sox. I hope it's cold in Chicago. I'm not sure Mike Trout likes to play in a cold, but talk about two teams that are terrible. Angels had 99 losses last year. The White Sox 121. They lost 220 games between them last year. Now, who in the hell would want to watch these two play baseball unless you want to watch Mike Trout? You know what? That's what I will be doing. I will watch Mike Trout play baseball today. I don't care if they win or not. I've been his man in his corner since he started this league. He's a 3-time most valuable player. I know the last couple of years he hasn't been played. He's got a lot of hurt. But he's a tough, hard-nosed guy. Got to help himself. The powers to be said, Mike, we don't want you in center fielder anymore. Even though you're good enough to play it, you're running around too much. We're going to play in right field to save your legs. So Mike says, all right. They know Mike will do anything. He's being paid $600 million or something like that. So Trout's going to be in right field now. So if you're looking for him in center field, he won't be there. And the White Sox is awful. The Angels are throwing UC Kikuchi up against Sean Burke. Folks, this isn't a game you don't want to watch. If you do, only watch Mike Trout because the rest of the players are worth looking at.
Yep, the Angels still have Mike Trout. The Angels, hopefully at some point, will have an answer. I mean, the one thing that I hope for the Angels more than anything else is that the movie Angels in the Outfield shows up. Christopher Lloyd is in the outfield, and they help Mike Trout stay healthy, and they help them get to the postseason. Because the best thing about any type of Angels team is the movie Angels in the Outfield. And I miss that logo. I miss the Angel logo with the wings on it and the halo. Maybe they need to go back to that. I know they have the halo and it's red, but I feel like maybe they need some wings. They need something to lift up their spirits. Awesome movie that was made, but the reality of it all is it's been very tumultuous for the Los Angeles Angels. They've been the California Angels, they've been the Los Angeles Angels, they've been the Anaheim Angels, and allegedly their full name is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which makes absolutely no sense. So hopefully they'll figure it out and they'll get better. PJ, as always, I hope you figure it out and I hope you get better. We love you. We appreciate you. Happy birthday one more time to MT from last week. And I look forward to hearing what you and my big brother Joey think about watching the games tonight. And I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Bye-bye.
Take care, PJ. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. When we spin back around, it's college basketball talk, the women's tournament and the men's tournament. The men's tournament is back tonight, when we're talking about the NCAA tournament, because there's the BIT and the NIT and all that stuff going on. But the men's tournament is back tonight in the Sweet 16. The women's tournament is back tomorrow in the Sweet 16. And so I believe it's tomorrow, if I'm not wrong here. I actually might be, no, it's Saturday, March 29th, pardon me. So the women are going to be playing in their Sweet 16 over the March 29th and March 28th. I am right. Confusing myself this morning. Half of the bracket plays Friday, half of the bracket plays Saturday, and for the men, half of the Sweet 16 plays tonight, the other half plays on the 28th. So very excited to see what's going to happen here at the NCAA tournaments. We'll talk about my bracket and where I'm at right now here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. I will be joined by Gabby Holko, one of my good friends and a longtime college basketball coach. I absolutely love her as a human being. I am so proud of her as a coach, and I cannot wait to have her on the show next. That's coming up right after this, where sports meets life from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're on break.
Oh.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, you are with us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I am picture in picture with one of my favorite coaches of all time. I will always go back to my alma mater, Marywood. I will always look at that one season. I will always look at that energy, the fire, just the tenacity, the fact that this wonderful human being allowed me into her locker room to celebrate with the team, to be around the team, and to see this. So Gabby gave me one of the best experiences of my life in her season at Marywood, and she continues to give back to Susquehanna, to the community. And as I told her before, and I'll tell her here on screen and to the world, wherever she is, she's going to be successful. Regardless, I don't see her as a division whatever coach. I see her as a basketball coach. So I'm proud of her. I'm happy with her. I have to give her flowers for Duke. Whatever. We'll discuss it. But I'm very happy to have Gabby here on the show. Susquehanna Riverhawks women's basketball head coach in Pennsylvania, and of course inside of the Landmark Conference. And here with me today, but more than anything else, a friend who has always been by my side from the moment that we had the opportunity to talk with each other. So Gabby, more than anything else, thank you for not just talking about it, but being about it. And in a world that desperately needs love and kindness, thank you for being a good friend.
I appreciate that. And thank you for being a good friend to me, Dan. Appreciate our friendship and just talking all the time about hoops, life, all the good stuff. So excited to kind of get into it today.
Yeah, and I'm excited because I'm going to tell you something here. In the women's basketball tournament, in the Division I women's basketball tournament, I am very proud to say that I have 3 of 4 teams correct in every single region. So 3 of 4 teams
Really?
right. Yes, 12 of 16 correct inside of the Sweet 16. I had predicted UCLA. I want to look at my bracket right now. So I had predicted
I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, so I predicted UCLA. I predicted
Same.
LSU. I
Okay.
predicted NC State. I got Ole Miss wrong.
I got so I have UCLA, I have Ole Miss, I have LSU. I did not have NC State. I picked Florida State to go a little bit further. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I had. So yeah, I picked NC State. I felt good about NC State, so I went with NC State. Picked them to go forward here. So you got 3 out of 4. I got 3 out of 4. The one I got wrong was Baylor. And then in the UConn bracket here, I had, or I should say the Southern Cal bracket, I had USC correct.
Yep.
I had Kansas State correct. I had UConn
Okay.
correct. And instead of Oklahoma, I had Iowa beating Oklahoma.
Okay. I had Oklahoma correct. I had UConn. I had USC, but I had Kentucky going over Kansas State. So again, 3 out of 4.
Yeah. So you got 3 out of 4. I got 3 out of 4. Let's go to the South Carolina bracket. In the South Carolina bracket, I accurately predicted South Carolina. I also accurately predicted Maryland. I predicted Duke. And I picked West Virginia over North Carolina. I had them both winning in their game, which they both did, but North Carolina bested West Virginia. So again, 3 out of 4 correct. I had South Carolina, Maryland, and Duke in the Birmingham region.
I had all 4. So I have all 4 in that region, and I said all along, I love South Carolina. I ultimately have South Carolina winning it all.
So do I.
But I think North Carolina has played great basketball all year. We talked about that last time. Maryland has played really great basketball. Duke is also a great, obviously, women's basketball program. So I'm excited to see that North Carolina-Duke matchup. But I had all 4 of those correct up there.
At least we get to see North Carolina Duke somewhere, right? So
Yes.
in the other bracket here, so that was Birmingham 2. In the Birmingham 3 bracket here, I had Texas correct.
Yep.
I had Tennessee correct. Yep. I had Notre Dame correct. And the only one that I got wrong is picking Louisville over TCU. So again, 3 out of 4. What'd you have?
Yeah, so I was 3 out of 4 down there as well. I had Texas, I had Tennessee, I had Notre Dame. I picked Louisville over TCU as well because I just love Jeff Walls. So I thought that they were going to be able to pull it out. They're a younger team this year, I believe. I could be wrong with that, but I think that they're a younger team this year. But they started playing really good basketball late in the year, so I was hopeful that they were able to get over to that Sweet 16 round, but they did not. And TCU has been rolling. With Haley on that team, Sedona Price is on that team. They've done a really good job down there. So
you got 13 of 16. I got 12 of 16. How do you feel this morning? Is there anybody else around the country that you feel confident that both people on the screen had an almost perfect Sweet 16?
I would honestly say yes. When the people are doing the women's brackets, they do, obviously, a lot of them just go based off of higher rank because there are fewer upsets in the women's game.
Yeah.
But so I think that there could be a couple out there that called some all 16 and or 15 of 16. But I think we're pretty darn close, you and I. So that's awesome. The men's, I was all over the place. So
yeah, if we take a quick pulse of the men's bracket, mine flatlined in the round of 32. Thank you to Rick Pitino and St. John's. I put the message out there very clearly, and I put it in maroon for the Razorbacks. I just simply said, how's John Calipari going to do my bracket like that? So looking back at my bracket on the men's side of things, I did have Auburn, I did have Michigan, I did have Michigan State, I did not have Ole Miss. Do you have a men's bracket or no?
I do. I have that right here. So where are we at? Which
we are in the Auburn bracket, the Southwest bracket.
Okay, yes, gotcha.
So yeah.
All right. So I did have Auburn.
Okay.
Okay, I have Michigan.
Okay.
I did not have Ole Miss, and I had Michigan State.
Okay, so you and I got the same 3 right in that bracket. I'm going to head down to the Florida bracket in the West. I had Florida.
Yep.
I did not have Maryland. I had Texas Tech, and I did not have Arkansas.
I did not have Arkansas either. I had Florida, I had Maryland, and then that bottom 2, I didn't have either of those.
Okay, all right, so I don't feel too bad. And then in the Duke bracket, in the East bracket, Duke got to play. They literally woke up and went to the gym and then walked down the street. It was like they had their normal day. Duke woke up and they were like, "What do we typically do on a Thursday, Friday?" And just went down the street to play in this game. Must be nice.
Yep.
So Duke, I had Duke. I did not have Arizona. that Oregon-Arizona game, I didn't know who the heck to pick. And then in BYU and Wisconsin, I did not have BYU. I had Wisconsin, and I had Alabama over St. Mary's. So I had 2 out of 4 there. I had the number 1 seeded Duke and the number 2 seeded Alabama in the East.
So I had, where are we at?
East bracket.
East bracket.
Yeah. Duke's bracket.
Yes, okay. I had Duke. I had no, not Zona. Oh yeah, I did. I have Arizona. So I got Arizona. Sorry, my men's bracket's all over the place. I'm trying to go back to, I had one written down and then I have my app on my phone, and my app has been being a little bit difficult. I had BYU.
Okay.
I had Bama. I had Houston.
Okay, so in the bottom bracket, so in the final bracket here that we have, you had Houston. So I had Houston. I did not. Did I have Purdue? I don't think I had Purdue. Did I have Purdue? I have to check mine. I may have had Purdue. I know I had.
I did not. I called McNeese to go and up. So I called the McNeese upset the first round.
Okay.
And then I called it again. I was like, they're gonna upset somebody big, and then they fell a little bit short. So I did not have Purdue in that.
Okay.
I have Kentucky and I have Tennessee.
All right, I have Tennessee. I did not have Kentucky. So we, pretty much even in this one too. The unfortunate thing about what I do have is that my national champion is gone. So no matter what I have in this thing, people were asking me who's going to the Final Four. Who's the Final Four? Going before the bracket was even made, they said, "Who's your Final Four?" And I said I can't even give you a Final Four. I can tell you the 2 teams that stick out to me, and the 2 teams that were speaking to me, Duke and St. John's. Well, St. John's is gone, so now people are like, "Who's going to win it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's got to be Duke. It's got to be Duke to win it to at least get half of my bracket right in that world." But yeah, so I mean, those were the 2 that came to mind. Those are the 2 that sat with me. They're the ones that continue to sit with me. I don't know. I mean, Rick Pitino, his team shot 28% in the game against Arkansas. Anybody that's surprised that John Calipari is still alive in the tournament is insane. It's his first season at Arkansas, and you say, well, why did he leave? I mean, I was thinking, why would the guy leave Kentucky? But he leaves Kentucky. He gives himself a new challenge. He continues to be effective. He continues to do well. You got to give the man his flowers because he deserves them. So, I mean, he is where he is. And as far as my bracket goes, I just want to double check and see if it was loading. So I want to double check and see if I had Purdue. I know I have Houston. I've been a big fan of Houston for a very long time. And it's been easy to do because, I mean, I've covered them. I cover Kelvin Sampson and his crew. I've spoken with the guys over the years, and I just have a lot of respect for them. So taking a look at the bracket here. Let me just double check here my Houston bracket. So I had Houston, and no, I did not have Purdue. I didn't think I did. So yeah, so I still have Houston and Tennessee alive. And like I said, in the Duke bracket, I have Duke and Alabama alive, and those were the 2 that I picked to go so the only 2 I have left in the Houston bracket, if they both go, I'm perfect. In the Duke bracket, the only 2 I have left, if they both go, I'm perfect. And then in the Florida bracket, I had Florida and St. John's, so I can get one of those right. And then in the South bracket, I have Auburn and Michigan State. So I still have the opportunity to be almost perfect in the Elite 8. I can go 7 of 8 in the Elite 8 still.
Yeah, so I could go of the Elite 8. I'm perfect for Duke and Bama if they both go. Houston and Tennessee, I'm perfect. I also had St. John's, I believe I said that. So I was not good down there. Florida, I have. Auburn, I have. And if Michigan State wins, then I have that one. So I could go 7 of 8 as well. So
yeah. Why did St. John's do this to us, Gabby? What is their problem?
I don't know. I was riding that Rick Pitino bandwagon with all his videos about coming into the locker room and just coaching how he wanted to coach. I mean, it was good. But I mean, Calipari, he's a Pittsburgh guy, so it's good to see him doing well with Arkansas. Obviously, leaving Kentucky where he was for so long. I watched them a couple times this year, and I'll be honest, I said this to you, I think the last time we were on. I have not watched men's basketball nearly as enough this season as I have with women's basketball. And I think it's truly just, I mean, the women's basketball games have been broadcasted more. So you're able to see the times for the women's games have been amazing in terms of being able to just put it on even on my office TV. The men's games are always so late, and I am old and I am in bed by those times. So that's where it's a little bit different. But I'll have in my women's Final Four, I have UCLA, UConn, Notre Dame, and South Carolina, and then I have UCLA up going to the championship with South Carolina, and then South Carolina ultimately winning that. And then I'm excited about it. We get to go. So we're headed down to Tampa next Thursday, the 3rd. It's also the WBCA buds it up with our women's basketball coaching convention. So going down to learn a little bit, see some on-court stuff from some coaches, get into some round tables, that type of stuff to bring back to our program here at Susquehanna. But then we also get to go to the 2 semifinal games and then the national championship game. So it's great. I think I told you this last time we were on as well. Like the WBCA gives us a little bit of discounted prices on tickets because we're women's basketball coaches. But it's so cool to see how women's basketball has grown. I mean, we used to be able to get 4 tickets per entry, like for a coach, and now we're only allowed to get 2 per coach because of the demand of these tickets. So it's awesome to see. I think Tampa is going to be booming. I think the energy in the gym, I think we're going to see a lot of good basketball games with the 2 semifinals and the national championship. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome, and I think it's great that they put the meetings around that, and then they have NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3, have the coaches come down, men's side, women's side, want you to be there, want you to be at it. I think it's something that is really amazing that the NCAA does, one of those shining light moments of the fact that they want you to be there, that they actually want the coaches to be at the championship. You think about how hard those tickets are to get, and yet there's a bunch of those seats that are for NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3 on the men's and the women's side. So I think that it's a tribute. It kind of makes it all feel like one big family. And I just, for all the things the NCAA gets criticized for, I think it's one of the best things that they do is say, you know, we appreciate our coaches, and no matter what division you're coaching at, no matter what conference you're coaching or what team you're coaching or whether or not you made the tournament, we want you to have the opportunity to be here, come to the meetings, go to the games. I think that that's a really beautiful thing, and I commend the NCAA for that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's good to be able to get to see your coaching friends that you don't really see unless you're on the recruiting trail. So we get to just kind of decompress a little bit and just kind of talk shop, but ultimately support women's basketball and have fun. I think the NCAA does a great job. The WBCA does a great job with it. So kudos to them for everything that they do for this, the Final Four championships. So excited to go down to Tampa, get some nice sunshine and get out of this cold weather. So I'm excited.
Yeah, my second home, the great state of Florida. So second home for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and then literally my second home personally. So here with Gabby Holko, the head coach of the Susquehanna Riverhawks women's basketball team. We were talking about the NCAA Division I women's basketball and men's basketball tournaments. There's something interesting going on with the women's basketball tournament, and I'm going to throw this at you here. This morning, taking a look at the schedule, for the first time ever, I believe, there will be games that are live on Disney+. On ABC, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus on Saturday, this Saturday, March 29th, 2025, Notre Dame, the 3 seed, will take on TCU, the 2 seed. And in that bracket, which is Region 3 in Birmingham, that game will be televised on Disney Plus at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Following that game on Disney Plus, Tennessee, the 5 seed, against number 1 Texas, will face off in Region 3 in Birmingham. That Sweet 16 game will also be on Disney+. So thoughts about the fact that not only ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus are carrying the women's games, but that I believe for the first time ever, making history this weekend, there will be 2 women's basketball games in the tournament on Disney+.
I think it's awesome, and I'm just doing a little bit of research really quick because I remember watching that game prior. But I think it's awesome in terms of, I reposted something on Instagram that said, like, this is the first time the women's basketball championships are allowed to use, like, the terminology of the Final Four that the men have been able to use and market, and just the marketing items that they can use this year. And the spots on ABC, the marketing within TV, the Disney now. I didn't know that about Disney. They were going to be live on Disney Plus. I think just women's basketball right now knows that people want to watch it, and they're just getting it on any eyes possible. So if you don't have cable, you have Disney Plus, because a lot of people are getting rid of cable and just using those streaming services. So I think it's awesome for women's basketball as a whole to be able to have those streaming networks to be able to watch. But I think it's awesome. I'm excited for the Tennessee-Texas matchup, and that's what I was just looking up. Kay and I watched that first time they played at Texas January 23rd, and Tennessee lost 80-76, but I remember that being a really, really, really good game. And I'm excited to see that second round going down between them both. Tennessee plays a very high intense game pace of play. They sub in 5, so they go like a system-ish, where they're subbing every couple minutes, even less than sometimes, and they're shooting a ton of threes, really high percentage shots for them. So it's either layups or threes, so it's exciting. I'm excited to see that. And Texas has played really great basketball all year, so getting that number 1 was no surprise to me, but I'm excited for the Tennessee-Texas matchup, and I think Kim Caldwell is doing a wonderful job at Tennessee. I think just being able to take over a program that did well, and then obviously just the history of what Tennessee women's basketball is, with Pat Summitt, and she had a quote that came out that Tennessee has been in every single NCAA tournament since I can't even remember, and she just said it was great to not be the one to mess it up, because this is her first season with Tennessee, so it's awesome to see. So I'm really excited about that game. I'm really truly excited about the Maryland South Carolina game. Watching the Maryland and Alabama game go into 2 overtimes, double overtime, and just Maryland played phenomenal. Alabama, the kid from Alabama, Parker, I think is her last name. I mean, she dropped a 40-piece, so she was doing everything that she possibly could to keep her team alive, but it was a very exciting game, so I'm excited to see them to go up against South Carolina as well. And then obviously the North Carolina-Duke matchup. I mean, they're ACC. They're very familiar with each other, so it'll be cool to see how that goes. Notre Dame, I love Notre Dame, so I'm excited. I think Notre Dame will come above TCU. They've been playing decent basketball all season as well, so it's really cool to see that. I'm selfishly hoping Gino and UConn, I mean, the way they have been playing in this tournament, it's unreal. Paige Beckers has just dominated, and she announced that she's not coming back to UConn because she does have that other year of eligibility, but she's going to go to the W, which I mean is smart. She's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, so that'll be exciting for her. But selfishly, I want to see Gino in the Final Four, because you don't know how many years, so it's always good to see those UConn teams go there. Terrible news about Juju at USC, tearing her ACL. But USC still won that game by almost, what was it? I think it was almost 30.
They were up by like 40 at a point.
Yeah, they're still such a strong team. So I think that'll be a good game against Kansas State. And then obviously the NC State LSU. Everybody loves Kim Mulkey. Being able to see her on the sideline, and just that LSU with Flage. I mean, they're playing really well. And then the UCLA Ole Miss game. Coach Yo, and then Corey Close, 2 really great women's basketball coaches. So really excited to see what's going to kind of happen within this Sweet 16 round, and then going to the Elite 8 and seeing what happens. So I'm excited.
Yeah, no, and I love the breakdown of that, and I appreciate that. And to me, like, it energizes me when you go to each of those pieces like you just did, and you talk about, this is, this Tennessee and Texas, it's matchup number 2, and then you get into the different coaches, Gino Auriemma, and the fact that Paige isn't coming back, and is probably going to, I would be surprised if she's not the number 1 overall pick. And then talking about Juju, I was watching that game live, and she's down on the court, and then she's out, and then you just see the team wreak havoc. And you think to yourself, like, if she was there, would they have won by 50? They were up by almost 40. So it's just, this tournament has been so exciting, and it was exciting back in the day, I'm sure, but it wasn't on television like you and I spoke about. And now that we see it and we see these games, like, I'm ecstatic about this. I have NC State. I mean, I had NC State getting to where they are right now, getting to the Sweet 16. I have NC State winning. I have NC State going forward and making it to the Final Four. I have UConn making it to the championship game, and that's the team that I have stopping NC State. I have Tennessee getting over Texas at I have Texas going into the finals here. So I have Texas winning this game over Tennessee, as much as I like Tennessee, and I would not be surprised at all if Tennessee makes it to the Final Four. And if it was somehow UConn-Tennessee, watch out, because that game this year leaned on the side of Tennessee. But ultimately, I have UConn and I have South Carolina. It's really, really hard for me to pick against Dawn Staley, and it's really, really hard for me to pick against Gino Auriemma. So when I get to the end of it all, and people look at it, I'm like, UConn, South Carolina, and you kind of just look at it and laugh to yourself and say, well, yeah, of course, Dan, you picked chalk, or Dan, you did this. I'm like, no, it's just Gino Auriemma's done it for 115 years, and Dawn has done it so well for the recent history here. And the fact that Dawn Staley, I mean, she speaks her mind, she talks about God, she has faith, she's who she is, she's strong in the person that she is. I just love her fight. I love her desire. I love her fervor. Why would you not want to play for her? And then Gino Auriemma, I mean, to cover the Big East and to be there. I was there in October at Madison Square Garden. Gino Auriemma was standing right in front of me. So, I mean, this larger-than-life character that you feel like is almost not a real human being, he's there. And then, like I said, I mean, with Coach Staley, it's just ultimately at the end of it all, if I'm going to lean on a coach to make a decision, not that I don't respect all the other coaches, but as much as I think NC State can have a beautiful run, and obviously men's and women's did a great job recently here last year, but NC State, to me, if anybody's going to beat them, it's Gino. And then South Carolina, give me Tennessee, give me Texas, give me whoever. I can't go against Coach Staley. So I'm living in this world if I really want to see UConn, South Carolina, because I picked South Carolina to win, but either way, I'm going to be happy, because for Paige, I want her to have a swan song and I want her to have a beautiful time. And then Coach Staley, I want her to keep celebrating. So I think Gino, and this is the thing about women's basketball this year, I think underestimating Gino, underestimating UConn, having UConn in men's and women's basketball look like they're struggling more, which their struggle bus doesn't look anything like anybody else's struggle bus. But to see Dan Hurley and be like, okay, they won 2 in a row, but they didn't win the Big East tournament, and then they just lost to Florida by 2. And then to see UConn now with Gino Auriemma, and Gino Auriemma's the historic guy. He's the one that's leading this team. He's got the best team in the country. A lot of people think that. But then all these other teams come up over the years. So I still think that UConn, even though they're UConn, flies a little bit under the radar, and I think there's still a little bit of a surprise. So I think Gino and the team can take advantage of the fact that UConn's not necessarily supposed to win. And then Coach Staley, I mean, for real though, if you put Thanos with all of the 6 stones of the Infinity Gauntlet in front of her, I still think she'd snap her fingers and do more. So I'm just looking forward to what's coming up.
Yeah, I think Coach Dawn Staley is a GOAT. She has just done a wonderful job with her South Carolina teams. Signing the extensions that she has with her contracts is just pushing women's basketball so it's kicking the can forward. And she's just so humble. But she, as you said, is just so strong in the person that she is, that being a young coach, seeing that at that level, at the highest level, is so awesome to see, that you can be your authentic self, and you can still get by, and you can still win basketball championships, and you can still be that person that is relationships, right? Like, she's a big relationship builder with her players, with her alums. You see that the relationship with her and Asia Wilson. I mean, when Asia sent her brand new shoe that she just released. So it's really exciting to see. Again, I agree, like, UConn has been on the quote-unquote struggle bus, just because they have not been back. But I also think just women's basketball as a whole has just grown tremendously. And I think that the viewership has helped that, because you're seeing these younger players come up. There are so many great women's basketball players. I mean, I recruit all summer long, and we're at these tournaments that Gino and Dawn are at, recruiting kids. So us as Division III coaches, we're obviously not watching those games, recruiting those kids, but we stop by, we see what the talent level is. And I mean, women's basketball talent has just again grown tremendously, and I think it's because these girls are able to see people that they want to be on TV. We talked about that the last time I was on with you. It's just
Yeah.
when you're able to see what you want to be, right? It's easier to go, okay, I can be the next Paige Beckers. I can be the next Asia Wilson, right? Like I can be the next Caitlin Clark. I can be the next Flage. I could just like it's really, really cool for these young girls growing up in women's basketball to be able to say, like, I want to be that. Now let me work towards that to be able to get there.
Yeah, and like, I mean, it's just, and we talked about the vicious cycle. We talked about, if you don't put it on television, then you're saying it doesn't have value. And then if you're saying it doesn't have value and it's not on television, then people aren't watching it, which perpetuates the fact that they think that people won't watch it. So if you don't put it on TV and nobody can see it, and then you say, well, nobody wants to see it, but it's not on television for people to make a decision, it just keeps rotating and rotating. And then these women, because you talk to girls growing up, and what do they say? I want to be Jordan. I want to be Bird. I want to be this. I want to be that. Because those are the people that they saw. They watched people in college. They watched people in the pros. WNBA wasn't existent when I was a kid, and then when it came out, there still wasn't a lot. You were trying to figure out, like, when is it on television? Is it on television? Is it going to survive? I remember being a kid wondering, it took this long to have a women's professional basketball league, and then in the first 5 years having that thought of, like, is it going to fold? Because go ahead.
And those teams, and sorry to interrupt, but those teams that did fold, right? The Cleveland team folded, and a couple others that I'm blanking on right now, but you had teams fold. And now, with the resurgence of women's basketball in the W, now those teams are coming back. Toronto just released their team. They did just announce Cleveland's going to have a team. People put up for a team in Detroit. People put up for a team in Boston. People have put up for a team in Philly, Tennessee. So it's really cool to be able to, as you just said, like there wasn't one, and now not all of a sudden, but because we're giving the time and space to women's basketball, it's just growing. It's growing, growing, growing.
Yeah, and to have that, to say, well, you know what, let's put it on television. Let's take a chance on it. Let's see what it can do, right? Because everything in life starts with taking a chance on something. And so they take this chance, they put it out there, and we start to actually get to see what it's all about. We start to see women's basketball. And people ask me this all the time. I actually got asked this question this week. They're like, what's your thoughts on women's basketball and the men's basketball tournament? Like, if you had to choose, which one do you like more? And I said, well, it's not really fair, because the reality of it all is I love basketball. And at the start of my career at Marywood University, I fought to broadcast men's and women's basketball. I didn't fight for one over the other. I fought for both back in 2003. And I was ridiculed for it. So I was ridiculed for it. Why would you cover women's basketball? That's so stupid. Is there something wrong with you? What a waste of time. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And I just kept saying, you know what? It's more experience for me. It puts me out there with basketball. I love basketball. So if I can do 2 games in one day, why would I just do 1 game? And there was something of the thought process of somebody saying to me, go set up a men's basketball game, which is right after the women's game. In order to set up the men's basketball broadcast, I would have to walk in during the women's game and go, no, this isn't for you. And I couldn't do that to myself. And I couldn't do that to these women. And if I wasn't the person that I was and didn't make the decisions I made, I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know Kate Hajmahalis, who's at Kings. Mm-hmm. I would be so much less of an experienced broadcaster, and I would have missed a lot of good games. So I knew that there was something to be had, and when they finally put it out there over these last couple of years, because it's really only been these last few years, there's been the excitement of people saying, I mean, my Papa Joe, huge baseball fan, he was on in the first hour, we're on break, and he's on the phone with me, and he's like, man, Caitlin Clark. And he's like, and there's another one coming up, he's like, this Paige one, she's like that, she's the next one here. She's the next one to, obviously, kind of take the cake and whatnot. And to hear him talk about it, I mean, he didn't have exposure to it. A lot of people didn't. And when I got asked the question between men's and women's basketball, which one do you rather more? I said, well, that's not a fair question, because I saw more of the men's game than I saw the women's game growing up. And obviously I played men's basketball, but on the women's side of things, I always tell people this. I like that it's more fundamental. I like that it's more methodical. I like that there's more plays being run. I like that it is more of a team sport. there's elements of the women's game when it comes to fundamentals and team that I wish the men would adopt back into their family again. So I tell people this all the time. If you love basketball, it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man dribbling the ball. Basketball is basketball. But if you really like fundamentals and you really enjoy like the purity of the game, I think if you watch men's basketball, where sometimes it's 1-on-5, and you don't watch women's basketball, you're doing yourself a disservice. So I can't choose one over the other, but I can say that the women have allowed me to still have the purity of the sport that I love so much from the eyes of a coach, I guess I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's cool to see too, like our women's game is obviously different than the men's in terms of they still play halves, we play quarters. We've moved to the quarter scheme.
Yeah.
We can in the last minute of the fourth quarter advance the ball on a timeout.
Yeah.
So that's something where I think, and I can't remember what Division I men's basketball coach just said it, but he said, I'd like to see our game move to the quarters.
Yeah.
So that fouls reset each quarter unless you're going into overtime. And then also that they could use the advance rule. NBA uses it. WNBA uses it. We use it. They're the only, and it's a Euro thing too. So in Euro, they play 4 quarters and they're able to do those rules as well. So I'm interested to see if men's basketball at the collegiate level moves more towards the quarter scheme, and then being able to advance and just being able to then see, okay, what do these coaches draw up, right, in the end game situations? I mean, it was crazy I think this statistic is right, but for the men's side and for the women's, I think, to be the first game that had the buzzer beater to finish was the Maryland men's game. And that was in the second round. They won on that buzzer beater shot, but that was the first one of the tournament, which normally we see a lot more buzzer beaters, a lot more close finishes that way.
Yeah.
And then the Maryland women going into the double overtime. I mean, I think Maryland as a whole has probably been like, we've had enough excitement. Let's just win some games.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to ask you, as a Duke fan, to know that Duke is still alive in the Sweet 16 for the men and the women's side of things, just what that means to you, that the Blue Devils on both sides still have an opportunity to win a championship.
Everyone has told me, because Duke, I have obviously on the men's side winning it all. And you know I'm a Duke fan. Have been, always will be. My parents, not my parents, my dad more so, my brothers, they all say I'm a bandwagoner. How I became a Duke fan from Pittsburgh, they're unsure. And I'm like, because Pitt men's basketball and Penn State men's basketball was just, my dad was a Penn State fan, my brothers were Pitt fans. I was like, meh, Duke seems good. I like their colors as a young kid growing up with basketball. But I think if Cooper Flagg stays healthy, I just love John Shire and what he has done with this program, coming in after the legendary Coach K and being able to make his stamp on the program.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. I mean, when Cooper went down in the ACC tournament, like that was a little bit like this could change the landscape for that team. But excited for them. I love Carol Lawson on the women's side. I think she's a phenomenal coach. She obviously played at Tennessee for Pat Summitt, and then she played in the W, and then coached a little bit, and then went and coached in the NBA with Brad Stevens at the Boston Celtics, and then obviously has her time at Duke. But I think that is something that is really cool for them, to have both teams still alive. Maryland having both teams still alive. I'm trying to see if anybody else. Tennessee having both teams alive. So I think it's really neat for those programs to be able to say, okay, both Ole Misses are still alive. So it's cool to be able to see the groupings of those men's and women's basketball coaches still being able to have that common ground of like, hey, we're still fighting, survive and advance.
Yeah, in NC State, they could say that last year for a certain amount of time on the men's and women's side, and craziness of what have you done for me lately, which is absolutely insane. Kevin Keats won the ACC tournament last year, was a team not going to the NCAA tournament, came out of nowhere in the ACC tournament, won the ACC tournament, then went into the NCAA tournament, went to the Final Four, and got fired this year, a season after. So, I mean, just the thoughts of that and how it makes absolutely no sense. By the way, his team was gutted within the last couple of years. So, I mean, I don't even understand the mentality of some of these things. But I want to hit two things, and I want to stay on the point that I just made. You're a coach. I mean, this what have you done for me lately How do you fire a coach right after they went to the Final Four?
That level, man, is just, I don't understand it. Never been at that level. I think it has changed drastically. The Power Five level, being able to Power Five, Power Four, whatever you want to call, just those higher level Division Ones. It's being able to now keep up with the NIL stuff, being able to get the donors to be able to pay these kids. I mean, Gino, I think, just went off on an interview about, like, let's call it what it is. It's a business. These kids, I mean, it used to just be like, it was always a business, but it was, we're paying for your education. I am for that they should get paid for their name, image, likeness. I think that these athletes are doing tremendous things while they're there at those universities, and they're chasing the bags that they want. And how can that money can change somebody's life. You know what I mean? Especially on the women's side, like, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars as a women's basketball player at that highest level. And then they go to the W and their salary is way lower than that. So that NIL deal, those deals can change somebody's life drastically. And I think that that's amazing. But go to the Final Four. I mean, as a coach, it's just frightening, and you feel gutted for any coach that loses their job, in terms of that. And obviously we're not behind the scenes. We don't see any of the stuff that happens behind everything. But your heart goes out to these coaches that lose their jobs, at any level, Division 1, 2, 3. I mean, the thing that we're seeing at Division 3, that is so frightening is just these schools not being able to hold enrollment. And these programs they're cutting athletics. And then when they cut athletics, you're like, oh, most universities at the Division 3 level are about 35 to 37% student athletes. So, like, cutting athletics is like cutting a huge part of your enrollment, and these kids want to play. It's not that they're just there to play. Like, they're great students, but they're there. And a lot of our kids found out about Susquehanna because of basketball. They didn't know what Susquehanna was until we reached out to them. So I think at the Division 3 level, you see coaches worrying more, is my university going to be alive? I'm fortunate. Susquehanna is in a great spot enrollment wise, endowment wise, and we have great leadership within our university. So it's frightening for other universities, other colleges at that small college level, to lose their job that way. But I think as a coach, your heart breaks for anybody that loses their job, because of the amount of work that we all know that goes into this. It doesn't matter what level you're at, in terms of recruiting, in terms of scouting, in terms of just prepping your team and the time and effort that you put into your team. I say all the time, like, when I'm in season, and my wife, like, I'm like, hey, we're in season. I'm gone from 8 a.m. till sometimes 8 p.m. and we figure it out, and there's that balance. But I think it's more of like an integration of work-life balance. But like, she's in our gym, our team's here doing team dinners. You just as you get older, you realize what matters and what doesn't matter. But I think any coach that loses their job, it's sad, and your heart breaks for them.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you talked about NCAA Division III and enrollment and all these things going on. St. Francis, a team that I cover inside of the NEC, the Northeast Conference, they just made it to the NCAA tournament. They just made it to the round of 68. They won the NEC. So they get an automatic bid, and I have a whole issue with how an automatic bid's not an automatic bid, because they force some of these to play-in games. I think the play-in games should be for at-large teams, because those are the true last 8 teams in, and you shouldn't be punished like, oh, you're from this conference, you got an automatic bid, you won the conference tournament, but we don't really think that conference is that good. I think it's ridiculous. So St. Francis was treated as such. They were a 16 seed. They were in a play-in game. They lost, and St. Francis is now moving from Division 1 to Division 3. The Red Flash is now going to Division 3. The President's Athletic Conference is what they're going to be joining. They're leaving the NEC. The NEC has gone through a lot of transition lately, trying to figure things out, bringing in schools from Division 2 to Division 1, like Lemoyne, like Mercyhurst, Chicago State was a D1. They were a D1 independent, so they brought in Chicago State. They also brought in Stonehill. They brought in Merrimack, who decided to leave them. And so, I mean, the NEC has been known to take in Division II in this transition to Division I. Now they got a school leaving. Now St. Francis Brooklyn got rid of all of their athletics within the last couple of years. I think last year they announced they were getting rid of their athletics, so St. Francis Brooklyn went away. And now St. Francis, Pennsylvania is now reclassifying from Division I to Division III, which is absolutely crazy. It's in the state of Pennsylvania. What is your thoughts on this and the fact that, I mean, in 2026-27, they're going to do it? They were a founding member of the NEC, and they played an important role in shaping the history of the NEC. And to be on cloud nine, to say they made it to the NCAA tournament on the men's side, and then to turn around and say, we're not going to be Division I anymore. We're not going to go to Division II. We're going to go to Division III. Like, we're taking all scholarships away. I mean, from St. Francis, Brooklyn, to get rid of athletics, which is unheard of, to St. Francis, PA, to get rid of athletic scholarships. And right after the tournament, your thoughts on that?
I think the mid-majors, low Division I think because of the competing, right, with the money that is being shelled out at the higher levels, it's hard. And I think a lot of universities, I think at any division, I think Division I, I think Division II, I think Division III, people are struggling financially. So that is probably the biggest. Like if you say, okay, they dropped from Division I to Division III, all scholarship money. Think about the money that they're now saving that they were shelling out as a university for scholarships. I think that we're going to see this more. Which is really sad. It stinks for the St. Francis men's basketball team. Obviously winning the NEC, going and playing. And then all of a sudden, okay, now we're in a completely different scheme of what we're division, you know what I mean? So I think that it stinks for them and the athletes. Hartford just did that. So the University of Hartford 2 years ago, I believe 2 or 3 years ago, they changed from D1 to D3. I think because of their academics that they can go down to the Division III level, which is obviously we put an emphasis on the academic piece. When you talk about St. Francis Brooklyn, we have a kid, Zoe Maffey, on our roster that had a full ride to St. Francis Brooklyn, going into her her senior year of high school. She is a sophomore on our program right now. She had a full ride to go to St. Francis Brooklyn, and then they called her and they said, we're removing all athletics, so you have to now find a new home. And we're fortunate to be able to pick her up, and she's now with our program, and we love her to death. And she says all the time, like, this is where she was meant to be. So super, super happy about that. But I think the landscape of collegiate athletics is changing, and it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to look in 5 to 10 years, and to see what levels are what conferences are what. I mean, I know the President's Athletic Conference really well. I played at Westminster, who is in the President's Athletic Conference. So they now have 12 members. And I was just talking to my coach about it. Like, what do you mean you have 12 members? Are you going to be playing 22 conference games? Like, that's absurd. Like, you have no room for tournaments. And she said, no, we're going to go PSAC model. So PSAC model has a north and a south. So you have your divisional teams. So if you're in the north, you play those teams twice, and then the teams in the south, you have crossover here and there. Like, you play them each once, or you just only play a couple. And then from north, south, the United East in the Division III level does that as well, where they have like an east or a west or a north and a south. And then they all combine for their tournament. But the amount of games that you got to win in that tournament become pretty large, if you're taking the top 4 from each side, rather than just having one conference like we do in the Landmark. And we're able to play with the top 6 go, 1 and 2 get a bye. So you're truly only playing a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and then the championship game. But we have 10 in the Landmark too. So we added Wilkes and Lycoming a season ago. So not this season, last season was their first time competing with us, because the Landmark, our commissioner, Katie Boldovich, we created Landmark football. So we didn't have enough teams. So Drew does not have a football team. Scranton does not have a football team. Goucher does not have a football team. So they needed to add into universities that had football teams. And then a couple affiliates. I think Western New England is one of them. And then Keystone College was one of them. But Keystone is also on that verge of they lost their accreditation, then they fought to try to get their accreditation back. So we created Landmark Football. So then we brought in Wilkes and Lycoming. But you always hear as coaches rumors. There's schools trying to add here and switch conferences. I mean, the SUNY conference is, I think, now going to be done. You have now the people that moved into the Empire 8. SUNY New Paltz is moving into the NJAC, the New Jersey Athletic Conference. So you just see a ton of movement. But I think, as I said, like, I'm excited to see what the framework of college athletics looks like in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And you brought up the SUNYAC in Division III, and that directly affects a lot of the teams that I cover. And with Geneseo and Brockport leaving the SUNYAC in the 2024-25 season for the Empire 8, with their hockey programs headed to the United Collegiate Hockey Conference, the UCHC, it left some wondering what was going to happen. And so changing the landscape of the SUNYAC and just what that means and whatnot. So, I mean, it is. I mean, you're mentioning things that are hitting home in upstate New York for me, and what does that mean for schools like SUNY Oswego that's been so successful, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, there's this constant change that's going on, and the unfortunate thing is, and I'll say it a million times over, money is the root of all evil, and money being the direct focus of all these changes that are going on has obviously affected everybody. The purity of the sport and the team side of the sport. The fact that the transfer portal opened a few days ago on Monday in the middle of the NCAA tournament. The fact that the college football playoff, while it was going on, the portal was open. There were coaches calling players, texting players on teams that were practicing for a college football playoff game saying, why don't you come here? Why don't you sit out? Why don't you leave? And so the NCAA, number one, having no rules and regulations with NIL or with the transfer portal, and even if they do have rules and regulations, it's a joke because no one's enforcing them. To open something at this time is just absolutely insanity because it's going on during the season. But, you know, we're talking about this ripple effect, that something that happens in Division I affects Division II, it affects Division III, and like you said, 5 to 10 years, what's it going to look like? Well, I made a prediction 7 years ago. Almost 7 years ago, I said 5 to 10 years from now, the NCAA will fail to exist at all. And if they do, or I said 5 to 10 years from now, the NCAA, if they still exist, will look vastly different than what we know them to be if they exist at all. And that was about 7 years ago that I said that. Unfortunately, the NCAA made me right. And the SEC and the Big Ten are running everything. So it's come to a place now where Lemoyne was affected by Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC. Your conference is affected by the fact that there's realignment in Division III. St. Francis is going to mix things up right now. They're going to mess things up for the NEC. They're going to help out the presidents. But at the same time, how do you jockey that? Like you said, divisions and scheduling. You know, there's so many things that are going on right now that are affecting collegiate athletics, and it all comes back to the almighty dollar, the one thing that people can never get enough of, and it always ends up ruining things. The unfortunate part of this is Olympic sports. The unfortunate part of this is a disrespect for Division III. They say NIL can be Division I, II, or III. NIL can be in the USCAA. You can do NIL and NJCAA. You could do it in any collegiate model. You can have NIL, but at the Division III level, I would argue that they need it more because they don't have the full ride education. So, you know, I would like for decisions to be made with, gosh forbid, common sense, with more than the almighty dollar, with caring about education, caring about team. And we talk about all these commercials with the NCAA, Gabby, saying, 4% of athletes actually play beyond college. Okay, so if 96% of them are not, then why are we not talking about education? Why are we not putting parameters around things? Why are we not educating people about how to spend their money and how to save their money? There's so many things that we should be doing because we keep talking about, hey, life after sports, but the NCAA is not preparing anybody for life after sports. And I'm frustrated that I have so many friends like yourself that are coaches and that I have to think about how your jobs are getting increasingly more difficult. There's all of these changes going on. There's all these questions being asked. And instead of saying, is this player a right fit for me or we a right fit for them, there's all these other things going on. There's all this ancillary stuff, all these helicopter things that are always buzzing around coaches' heads. And I think it's unfair. I think it makes a job difficult. And I just want to see a place where we put in parameters, we protect the players, we protect the schools, we protect the coaches, and we start to answer questions that we're not answering and put us in a place where schools are not folding. I don't care if I know the school or not. If I hear a school is closing, deleting their athletic program, or dropping divisions, that hurts my heart because I love the kids and I love the coaches. So when you tell me that St. Francis is doing that, and I don't personally know people at St. Francis, that doesn't matter. That hurts my heart because someone has to make a phone call to their mom and say, I don't have a scholarship anymore, Ma. I don't know how I'm going to pay for college. Like, there's too many things going on that we're not talking about. We're talking about the flashiness and we're talking about the big mega NIL deals, but we're not talking about the other side of realignment and the other side of money and the other side of the House settlement, which is supposed to happen in early May. And where are some of these schools going to come up with $20 million? It's just crazy.
It's insane. I think just the mindset of it is crazy. And obviously, like I said, I don't deal with it in terms of the NIL process here. There are a couple D3s that have done it. Our football coach was just saying St. John's, who they played, I think they're in Illinois, Iowa, out that way. Our football team played them in the Final Four this year, and they said that they have it figured out in terms of NIL. So I think certain D3s are figuring out ways to do that. I think it depends on the university and if it's allowed, right, at your level. And your university is going to allow it. And I think you're right. You just have to be able to. I think financial literacy has to be something that all these student athletes are going through to be able to say, okay, you're getting this big amount of money and it's life changing. So how do we now navigate saving that for life after when you're done? In terms of the education piece, I think a lot of the times they see at those high division levels. I was just talking about this with somebody yesterday that for NBA purposes, right? If a kid has an offer to be able to go to the NBA after their freshman year, Cooper Flagg to be one of them, right? He can go probably and the NBA be in the maybe overall number one pick, right?
Yeah.
They think he has now the means to be able to go back and get his education if he wants, right? So, and that's him. But again, the kids that aren't playing at the NBA level, the WNBA level, them graduating and getting a degree means more. But I think there's a lot that needs to be figured out. I think rules, regulations, I think you're right, that who's going to regulate them. And to be able to say, okay, you can only do this. I think salary caps probably have to come into play for those higher divisions. Because again, how do you compete, right? Like, how do you say a SEC conference can compete and the Big Ten and just with the smaller conferences, NEC, Patriot League. I think the Ivy League opted out of the NIL stuff. But again, they put an emphasis on the education and where you're going for that. But I think that it's gonna be interesting the next couple years to see how the framework kind of unfolds.
Yeah. It's in Pandora, as we know, once her box is open, she don't close it. So it's going to be really interesting here. I want to hit you with this because it's important to me, and I can only do it this way. It's probably going to make you laugh, but the only way that I can mention this is by simply making a sound before I do it, which is, is Drake even more done that the Toronto Tempo has Serena Williams as a part of it? What are your thoughts on Mr. Kendrick Lamar, which, by the way, if I'm Drake, I'm backing off. Dude's probably got 16 more songs that he can release today. And you know what? I thought when Haley Joel Osment said, I see dead people, it was scary. But when Kendrick said it, man. So let me say this to you right now. Toronto Tempo, we have a name. Everybody knows I'm a Toronto Raptors fan from the beginning. Tempo's got a name. They got Serena Williams. They're in Drake's home. What are your thoughts on the Toronto Tempo? And what are your thoughts on the state of Drake right now? Serena Williams she's got ownership of this. She's a place in the ownership. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this Kendrick Lamar, Serena, this whole like kind of Drake beef thing has now turned into ownership of a franchise in his city, which is crazy.
I think it's awesome for the W to be able to expand to Canada. There's a ton of Canadian players that play down here, so being able to maybe get some of them to go home and play on their home turf. Pop culture and I do not really mix, so I didn't know a ton about the Drake and Kendrick beef. However, my assistant Mike Matisse, he is a die-hard Drake fan. When I say die-hard, this man got tattooed on his calf the OVO owl from Drake. Okay. So like goes to his concerts religiously. He is just a Drake fanatic. So when I was asking him about it, he said, it's nothing, blah, 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 blah. But then when you ask a Kendrick fan, they're like, oh, it's everything. Yeah. And I didn't know that he dated Serena Williams. So all this stuff when it was coming out on the Super Bowl, and obviously this household was watching the Super Bowl, being that the Eagles were in, and the Eagles ultimately won. And my wife was the most ecstatic human on this planet. But I think the tempo, I think it's going to be great for the WNBA. There was a ton of marketing materials, I guess got pre-released, like we weren't supposed to see them. So people were cutting up on the logo saying it's old school, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of like it. It gives that like retro, like NBA feel a little bit. It gives that retro WNBA feel of the logo. So I think it's going to be good. I think Drake will probably be a big supporter of it. I mean, he goes to a lot of sporting events and women's sporting events as well. But the whole Kendrick, Drake, Serena, all that beef. Yeah, your girl Gabby does not follow it well. But I think the Super Bowl, I liked the halftime show. I was talking to my girls about that. We were all talking about it during season. Like, I thought it was a good halftime show. I thought the underlying messages of everything, and now like the memes with Kendrick, like if I send you this, just know I'm about to go off. So I think that it's fun, but again, pop culture is something that I don't follow a ton. But I think the expansion into Canada is awesome.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I didn't know anything about the beef. I had to look it up after the fact, and then I listened to, because I like Kendrick Lamar and I like Drake. So and I had to listen. I listened to one of the songs, and when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, okay, he's picking on Drake a little bit. Oh, he's alluding to it. And then I was like, dude just called him a pedophile like 3 times. So like it was a lot. It was a lot from Kendrick, but I mean, I became a fan of Kendrick Lamar when he did the majority of the Black Panther album for the movie for Marvel. So I was like, man, I like them both. And so I called up my buddy Isaac. We're like brothers. And I said to him, I was like, man, he said this about Drake. He said that. I was like, said a lot of bad things. And he goes, yeah, I know. I was like, you call him a pedophile, Isaac. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, but it's a banger. So I was like, I love Drake, but it's good. I mean, it's really good. So, you know, and I do that all the time. So he told me to, because he was messing with me. He's like, you listen to it all the time. So we went to the movies. And Isaac was standing outside, and I like kicked my door open, and I looked at him, and I went, So let's play some rapid fire. Let's get into it. Yeah, the Toronto logo, I love the Raptor, so I don't know how I feel about this tempo one right now, but we'll see. We'll see if it grows on me. What is your first question for me?
Oh, first question. If you could ask Dawn Staley one thing, what would you ask her?
Oh, my goodness. So great. I would say, will you come on my show today? That's what I would say. But no, I would say, Dawn, I'm coming for you. Just know it. I'm here. But I would say that in the best of ways, Dawn, just want to sit with you on the show, pick your brain. No, besides asking her to come on the show, I would just say, you know, bring me into your childhood, bring me into your upbringing, bring me into how you became the person that you are with the tools in your tool chest, to be so unafraid and unapologetic about believing in God and about who you are and why you are, because I just feel like you're a beacon of hope for people, and I feel like a world desperately needs people like you to speak about God and to speak about, you know, who you are, and to be proud of who you are, and to value who you are, to not think you're perfect, but to come to the world with confidence and not so much an ego. I would just want to pick her brain about her why, and just thank her for talking about God. And then I would ask her to be on my show. Mm-hmm. My question back to you, if you could take over my show tomorrow, what 3 guests would you have on?
Oh, I can pick anybody?
Anybody.
if I took over your show and I could pick anybody, I would probably I would want to do like a round table of like a Division 3 women's basketball coach, a Division 2 women's basketball coach, and a Division 1 women's basketball coach, and like have a discussion about what are the challenges and differences of that. I think there are a lot of people that are not getting into coaching because of the fright of like, is this the area that I want to work in? Is this where I see myself? Is it financially good for me? So I think being able to see just the differences and all of that. But I think in terms of like actual people, Dawn Staley would be a good guest. I think she would be amazing. I don't know. That's a hard one, Dan. That's a hard one. But I would say I would like to do like a round table of guests.
I agree with that. I think it's a great idea. I would be open to that. What's your next question for me?
My next question for you, dream vacation.
Oh, I'm going to pick somewhere I haven't been. So I'm going to Italy with my dad, finally. And so I'm going to say, let me pick a place I've never picked before. I'd want to go to Alaska. I just hear really cool things about it. And then, like, when it's all dark all the time, and then it's light all the time. I don't know. I feel like Alaska is really cool in the fact that it's so unique. So I'd want to go up there and just kind of experience it. I love nature. I'd like to be around that. If the polar bears are hanging around, swimming around, I'd like to see if they actually do prefer Coke over Pepsi. You know, just get a feel for it. so I would do that. My question back to you. If there's one food that you can erase from existence, what food would you look at Kay and say, man, I just wish the world never made this?
I'm allergic to strawberries, so I would say strawberries.
Okay. All right. How'd you
It's a
find
hot
out?
take. That's a hot take. So
Yeah,
everyone
I know.
loves strawberries.
How'd you find out you were allergic?
I had one as a kid and my throat closed.
Oh my goodness.
So I had to go to the hospital. But strawberry is an allergy that you can grow out of. So
Yeah.
they say technically right now at 33 years old, I could not be allergic to it. And I went to an allergist and did some tests. He poked me in the arm and he's like, you got a little hives, so you probably do have a little bit of an allergy. He said, but to really test it, like you could go home, take an EpiPen, eat one. If your throat doesn't close, then you're fine. If it does, then hit you with an EpiPen. I said, why would I do that? Kay's like, I think that's a great idea. Let's try it. You don't know what you're missing out on. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Kay's like, you can't have strawberry shortcakes. And she's like sitting there. She gets strawberry shortcakes for dinner, and she's holding the pen like this at the dinner table, and she's like, try it. I got you. I love that.
Well, she says every time strawberry is her favorite fruit. So me ruining that would probably really make her sad. But she's like, just try it. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I said, my throat could close. Like, that's the worst that could happen. She's like, yeah, but we could take you to the hospital. And I'm like, I haven't had them for 30 years of my life. I'm good.
I love that. I love that. Just get an EpiPen. See what happens. Be on the brink of death. No, I'm good. I'm all right. What's your last question for me?
Final question. If you could be just like the sideline media coverage of one team for the rest of your life, who would it be?
Pick a sport for me because it's going to be too hard. What sport?
Let's go men's basketball, Division 1.
Oh my goodness. Men's basketball Division 1. Gonzaga.
Okay.
Gonzaga. I love Mark Few.
Yeah.
I think the team's incredible. They're consistent. He's one of the only coaches that looks like NIL hasn't changed his program. So
Yeah.
Fundamentals, everything. The way he talks about his players, the caliber player that he has, getting to talk with Drew Timme and a bunch of guys over the years. Like, I just talked to Mark Few last week. So I would say that, definitely Gonzaga. I've been a low-key Bulldog fan for a long time. Now I'm like more high-key Bulldog fan. I don't think I hide it that much, but yeah, it would have to be Gonzaga because I just feel like there's something in the water. It's just different up there. It's just different. My question back to you. All right, Kay, don't listen to this. So, because I got to know this. So, if you were going to, like, if you were going to do a day for K, I like that. A day for K. Nice. It rhymes. So, if we're going to do a day for K and you were going to, like, get her favorite whatever, surprise her, like, what would be the day that, I'm a big romantic, so what would be the thing that you would do to show her that you're listening besides almost dying over strawberries? What else would you do?
Yeah, no, I think we're big experience givers. It would be either we're pretty simple people. We love going to sporting events, whether that be anything from the Philadelphia side, because she's a diehard Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, all of that. So surprising her with a going to a game, and then just hanging out in Philly. We love Philly. It's a great area, great city.
Yeah.
I would say that, or if it's going to be low key, just on a weekend, like we just talked about this, we're going to do this weekend. It's starting to get to be golfing season.
Yeah.
So going out, just playing 9, playing 18, and then just cooking dinner at home. We're very, like I said, low key. As we get older, we get even more low key, where we're like, do we need to leave the house? But we force each other out. We go, but I would say just either spending time outside, and then cooking dinner together. And grilling season's coming up, so we're big about grilling out back on the deck and just hanging out and talking.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the positivity. And we started the week off with someone speaking very poorly of Philadelphia, and now later in the week we have someone speaking high about Philadelphia. So Philly, we've evened you out in all
We
stretches.
did, and I'll say this to you. This is funny. So I made a really dumb bet, Dan.
Tell me.
At the beginning of the football season. So Kaylin is obviously a diehard Eagles fan, and her friends have a bird gang chat, and they're just obnoxious sometimes. And I was a Steeler fan, born and raised, inner city Pittsburgh. So my dad is saying I'm a traitor. My mom's like, this is whatever, this is fun. I have decided I'm more of an Eagles fan now in my life because they win. I love Tomlin, but we right now don't have a quarterback. It's looking like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, and we'll see how that goes. Signing DJ Metcalf and George Pickens. I mean, I don't really follow football a ton, but they're saying that they're both very crash-outy, so that's fun. But I made a bet earlier this year that if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I would get Go Birds tattooed on my body somewhere.
Oh.
So that is happening. It is. I'm a woman of my word, and it's happening. And
Wow.
I'm a big tattoo person, so everybody that knows me knows that I have tattoos. So just getting it, then I'm like, it'll be a fun story.
That is amazing. That is great. That is wonderful. See,
Let's put that out on national news with Dan Tortora.
That's right. So where are you getting? So what is the tattoo? Is it going to say Bird Gang, or what's the?
No, it's just gonna say Go Birds.
So it's going to say Go Birds. It doesn't
Yep.
have to have the Philadelphia Eagle. It just says Go
No,
Birds.
just Go Birds.
Where are you putting it?
Tiny, right here, so nobody's gonna see it.
I love it. Except for Kay. Every day she go be like, that's because I won.
You're gonna be like, "There's my team. There's my team. There's my wife."
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Like, you better have a bet with her that you win, and you better even the score. You better find a tattoo.
She is a woman of 0 tattoos. I have about, what do I have now? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she has 0. And if I made, she just wouldn't be that free enough to make a bet that way, and she would say absolutely not.
Okay.
She did make one with her friends last year that if they would have won the Super Bowl last year, not this past season, whenever the last time that they were in, that she would have gotten an Eagles tattoo. I think they were going to get like the Super Bowl, whatever the numbers were. And they didn't win, so she didn't get it. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but of course I make it and they win. They put a hurting on Kansas City. So I'm like, this is lovely.
At least you're a woman of your word. That's the
Well, that's
important
what everyone.
part.
I've told people about it, and our women's soccer coach, Nick Hoover, he's a diehard Birds fan, like diehard. And I told him about it. He cracked up. He's like, "This is great." So then, as soon as they won, the next day when we were in the office, he's like, "Are you doing it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Too many people know about it now, and now I'm even telling more people." Well, it's happening. I'm getting it tomorrow, actually. So
tomorrow. I love it. Let's go. I can't wait. This is great. So, I mean, I hope that I will help you if it's not a tattoo thing. I am a man of many pranks. And so when you decide what you want to bet Kay with, let me know what the bet is going to be, like what team or whatever it has to do with.
Yep.
And I will help you develop her punishment.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. I love it.
So with that being said, Gabby Holko here on the broadcast, speaking about NCAA Division I women's and men's basketball, the issues that the NCAA faces today, and speaking about tattoos. Gabby, as always, I appreciate you. And
As always, Dan.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Talk to you.
Peace and love.
Peace and love back to you. Have a great day, okay?
You too.
Take care. That coming from Gabby Holko one more time, the head coach of the Susquehanna Riverhawks women's basketball program inside the Landmark Conference, and appreciate her so very much. Been friends for, oh my goodness, I got to think now. We have been friends for 5 years, 6 years, at least 5. So shout out to Gabby, shout out to her wife, Kay, and much appreciation. Kay, you won the bet. You won the bet. So God bless the fact, and tomorrow she's getting the tattoo, so that's insane. We'll take a step aside, final step aside here on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We'll be back with you right after you hear from our fantastic partners in Central and Upstate New York. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Find GG Cards and Breaks open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for hockey, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, and more, including AEW, Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! So many different things you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks, helping us to be big kids every single day. So make sure you head over there and show them some appreciation and some love. They truly are an absolutely wonderful, wonderful establishment led by Josh and Anthony. They care about the community, and they do so much to just help us be big kids and have fun. So I can't say enough about GG Cards and Breaks, but I always will have something to say about GG Cards and Breaks. So much appreciation for the work that they do and the level of service they provide to the community. They have every NFL, every NBA, and every MLB team. Go out and see them today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way, and I thank you in advance, and I thank everyone who's gone out to see GG Cards and Breaks, trusting us and our thoughts for GG Cards and Breaks. So much appreciation, and make sure that you head out there and get something not only for yourself, but for a loved one as well at GG Cards and Breaks. Experience the difference. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life, so excited that it is opening day for Major League Baseball, and it is continuation day of the NCAA tournament on the men's side. For Division I, the men will start off the Sweet 16 round today, and the women will start off their Sweet 16 round tomorrow. And so Major League Baseball is opening up, and then we have all these other pieces going on as well. I'm really excited, very much looking forward to it, and it's always a great time of year. Thanks to Papa Joe for talking baseball with me on opening day, as well as some college basketball, and thanks to Gabby Holko speaking with me on men's and women's college basketball this morning on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. However you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for being a part of Wake Up Call up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe where sports meets life, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, a big time thanks to being a part of Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and make sure you subscribe and download us from all of these wonderful free platforms. Big time thanks to Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Carolina. From New York to North Carolina, you will find the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Make sure you let them know that Wake Up Call sent you that way. You could just say, DT told me to come in and try these awesome sandwiches, salads, and more. Brooklyn Pickle. Experience the absolute amazingness of their sandwiches. We've had them many years up in New York. Now they're down at Southern Pines, right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course, and we look forward to seeing you over there. And a big time thanks to our incredible team of partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, where I have my own sundae, the DT Dolphin. Go and grab the Dolphin today. Mint chocolate chip, topped off with hot fudge, whipped cream, and a cherry, as well as green and gold sprinkles and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Available 7 days a week, and buy one, get one on Wednesdays. Carvel DeWitt, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation, reimagining, reinvigorating, and just, to me, recreating what it is to have vending in your place of work, be it the quality of food, the variety of food, to the technology. Servomation is great for your high school, your grammar school, your college and university, your place of business, your rest stop, your arena. Go to servomation.com to get more information on the place when it comes to vending. That's servomation.com, servomation.com. Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world. Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own sandwich, the Cuse McMother. Go and get the Cuse McMother today and every day of the week on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. The staple of Syracuse, Mother's Cupboard, is open 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and features the Cuse McMother daily, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and eat it like... cover it up and have it with some syrup, or pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. I just got it. a couple days ago with Stuart Flaherty, the new Bryan and Stratton men's soccer head coach. Go and get yours today. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Bryan's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. Find your Dolphins Wednesdays during Dolphin Time. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find the Dolphins here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni hanging out with us here where sports meets life. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find the Lemoyne playlist. You could also find the Dolphins by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats student athletes, coaches, and administration every single month where sports meets life, telling their stories in the Bobcat Buzz. You'll find the Bobcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide. Student athletes, coaches, and administration from the Binghamton Bee join me right here on Wake Up Call. You will find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and underneath the exclusive partners, you'll find them on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats by going to our wakeupcalldt.com homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank Papa Joe once again for his baseball expertise, Gabby for her basketball expertise, and the two of them for being wonderful human beings above everything else. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, as we celebrate opening day, let's go Diamondbacks, and let's go to all the teams out there, and a big-time excitement for everything that's going to happen here in NCAA basketball today. The Sweet 16, BYU up against Alabama at 7:09 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Maryland at Florida at 7:38 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS and True TV. Arizona will take on Duke at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. And Arkansas and Texas Tech will face off at 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS and True TV. The women's basketball bracket will continue with their Sweet 16 on March 28th. This Friday, we have a bunch of games going on. We have a game at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, North Carolina and Duke on ESPN on March 28th. We also have at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, South Carolina at Maryland on ESPN. At 7:30 p.m. on ESPN, we will have LSU and NC State. And at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have UCLA and Ole Miss for the women's Sweet 16. So a lot of great stuff. Basketball is back this week, so go enjoy it. And you can be sure that The Drive, proudly presented by Great Lakes Honda City, will be bringing you through, as we always do, with Mr. Ross Turetsky and myself, Dan Tortora. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, go and get your vehicle from them on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard. And thank you for coming to us for your sports and entertainment every single week. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Take care and stay safe.